Thanks for having me. Thrilled to be here.
Yeah,
Finally.
we're excited. It's been a long
Yeah,
time coming.
absolutely.
You spent a lot of time on rock and soul and
Yes.
decades really. So let's start with you. The first time that you actually held a copy of your book was when you came in here and came into the warehouse earlier this morning. So tell us, what was that like?
It's a moment I've been waiting for. We've been thinking about it since we started with you guys, getting the book together, going through the slides and negatives and the design, and finally got here, and it's as good and better than I expected. You guys nailed it, nailed the design. It's got just what I wanted, what my dream book was to be. You guys got it. So yeah, I was very happy.
Good.
Ecstatic.
Glad to hear. Thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah, it was, we obviously got some footage of that, and you can
Yes.
see the smile on your face
No, good.
was great to see. So tell us a little bit about the genesis of rock and soul. Like I said, this is literally decades in the making. I think most of these photographs were taken in the 70s or 80s. So,
Right.
So tell us about how this all started.
Yeah, when I was a young teenager, I was a good, long-haired rock and roller. I was play guitar
In New Jersey.
in New Jersey.
Yeah.
I was a guitar player. That I realized very early on I was not a good guitar player. I didn't really have. I just knew I didn't have a future. I didn't have the talent.
Yeah.
And but I was hanging out with musicians. All my friends were musicians. I picked up a camera and I started taking pictures of my friends. And the girlfriend at the time was a lead singer in a band I was in, so I started taking her picture. And I realized, you know what? My love for music, I know how to capture these people. I can't play the instrument good, but I know how to capture these people on camera. So I just started taking pictures of my friends and kind of going to clubs and shooting live photos of local bands. And eventually I sent my work out to a big rock and roll photographer, Mark Weiss in New York, and he needed an assistant. So I started working for him.
What year was that?
That was 85, I believe.
85.
I started working with him. So yeah, and I worked with him for 2 years. He started an agency, started sending me out to rock and roll concerts, shows to shoot, learn more, and I started getting things published, started making connections, and after 2 years I just went on my own and just started getting hired by rock and roll magazines and record companies.
So you're able to turn your passion for photography as a kid, which
Right.
started out sounds like as a hobby, into a career that's still 40 years later,
Yeah.
still going strong.
Yeah, it was really, I guess that was my passion for music. It was funny. I wasn't really into photography. I always tell a funny story. When I was in high school, I took a photography course, and I was least bit interested. I think that teacher would probably get a kick out of finding, because all I did was cause trouble in her class, and I wasn't interested in photography. But yeah, so so the music brought me to my love, I guess.
I have some Miss Hellman, my AP English teacher in junior and senior year.
Right.
I don't think she ever thought that I would be a professional author and publisher.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Well, I think she probably saw that I was a good writer, but not much else in me.
Right. That's exactly. Yeah.
Good. Well, and so like I said, you're still doing it today. Do you photograph many musicians today? I know you do a lot of public figures and headshots. So tell us a little about what you do today.
No, now I'm exclusively a headshot portrait guy. It's I stopped the music. I kind of focus now more. I sell my music photos and T-shirts and frame photos. But it's not. I won't have the passion because there's not a lot of musicians today I'd really want to photograph, or very few that would excite me. So I was lucky I got the legends when I could. And so now, I specialize in the headshots.
Yeah, so these certainly are legends in rock and soul. I mean, just look at the cover: Paul McCartney, Michael Jackson, B.B. King. I mean, these are obviously legends.
And a nice variety of styles of music.
A great variety, and I mean, we have AC/DC on one page and Bono on another page.
Right.
So these are all photographs that you took at these concerts.
Right.
So tell us a little bit about some of these shows and what it was like photographing these legends of rock and roll and other genres.
Yeah, well, I have some great opportunities. I got to photograph some of my musical heroes. One of my favorites is Chuck Berry, because I'm a big rock and roll and historian. I love the history and the origins of rock and roll. So Chuck Berry is the father of rock and roll. So I got to photograph him at the Ritz in New York City, which is no longer there. It's a small kind of intimate club. So I was really up close to shoot. So I'm like shooting this legend, Chuck Berry, and I got some great shots in rock and soul of him kind of looking right at me. So, I never got to photograph the originals. I didn't get to photograph Elvis. Little Richard, Buddy Holly, but I got Chuck Berry, so that's pretty great.
And how old were you? Do you think when you were
That was
done?
probably, well, it was mid 80s in the beginning, so I would say late 20s, I think, yeah.
Late 20s.
Yeah.
So not only were you able to photograph, but you were going, your part of your job was going to shows. So you got to go to concerts, best seats in the house, right? You have the photographer. And there's some, so you include some anecdotes and stories
Right.
in rock and soul. And so there are some funny ones about different artists that maybe
Right.
didn't want you in certain places. So what was that like being in the pit, being that close to them? Were the band members, did they want you there? Were they happy? Were they looking at you? Were they trying to give you good shots?
Every situation was different, but yeah, being in the photo pit, what they call it, you're right in front of the stage.
Right in front.
So at Madison Square Garden, this is like the venue for rock concerts. And I used to go there. I probably had been there 100 times when I was a kid,
Yeah.
going to see concerts. So now I'm like in the photo pit, and sometimes I was exclusively hired, maybe by the record company or the band. So you were always supposed to be there. It was never like you're in their way. They were used to photographers, but there were times I was there with 30 other photographers from other publications,
Jostling for
Yeah.
the shot.
right? But like in there's a few great shots of Elton John, which was a really unusual and a very surreal situation. I was the only photographer there. I was hired by his management company to shoot his 2 Madison Square Garden shows in New York. So yeah, so it was just me. I was
Just
his
you in the
exclusive
pit.
photographer. I met him backstage, and of course, in the book, there's a very funny story that goes with those shots too. So that was
But so he knew you were there. He knew
Yeah,
you were there
yeah.
for. So
Oh,
he
yeah,
wanted-
absolutely.
So he's
absolutely
looking at the camera, looking
Yeah.
at you.
yeah.
Yeah.
He was looking at the camera, and the funny story is when he was kind of looking at me for a little assistance with something. I don't know if you want me to tell that story or if that's
No,
something.
you gotta get rock and soul to read the whole story.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. It's a funny story though, and there's a few good stories in there too.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's a really nice mix of stories and,
Yeah.
and stories and art.
I appreciate that.
So if you,
Like I said, you guys just did a beautiful job with it. Yeah, that's Jake E. Lee. That was Ozzy Osbourne's guitar player.
yeah, wow, so you'll see,
Yeah.
there's a little story under the Twisted Sister one.
Right. And see, it's a good variety. You got
Great.
Twisted Sister, kind of heavy metal next to. Actually, I did get another legend from the '50s, Jerry Lee Lewis. Actually, so that's a great shot.
Yeah, it's absolutely beautiful. Led Zeppelin, one of my favorite bands. So
That
you have
was
Page and Plant both.
Yep.
Both in here.
As I say in the book, when I started off as a guitar player, I wanted to be Jimmy Page, but the job was already taken, so I ended up picking up a camera and photographing Jimmy Page.
I was actually going to read that.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
the,
right.
the pull-out quote on the
Yeah,
back of the
so
book.
Very
When I
true,
was-
because he was my favorite guitar player.
Yeah,
so
when I was young, I wanted to be Jimmy Page. That job was already taken, so I learned how to work a camera and photograph Jimmy Page instead.
right, there you go.
I
There you go.
I think that's absolutely great and inspirational.
Yeah.
If you had to pick one artist, and maybe they didn't even make the book, but
Mm-hmm.
if you had to pick one artist that you photographed to be your absolute favorite, who would you pick?
Paul McCartney,
Paul McCartney.
because I'm a big Beatles. That was the first group I knew growing up, and a Beatles fanatic. So yeah, photographing Paul McCartney was pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Tell us about that. Tell us about the time. Did you meet him? Did you get to talk to him?
I guess it was kind of a quick meeting. I was actually, same thing, was backstage at Madison Square Garden. Also, kind of a little funny story. Basically, this was the beginning of my career, and I'm waiting for. I knew I was going to meet or see Paul McCartney up and close. So I'm like anticipating this moment, and like, what are you going to say when you meet a Beatle? And then so he comes. I'm waiting. He comes walking in through the door with his wife, about as far as where my wife Shelley's sitting right now is about that distance. He comes walking, and then I just look him in the face. All I can muster up is "Holy shit!" And I was like, and he just had a smirk on his face, like, "Okay, I get this stupid reaction every day, so he's used to it." But I felt like an idiot. I was like, "Really, that's the best you can come up with this?" So.
You said it out loud, and he saw.
Oh
it.
yeah, nice out loud. I just looked him right in the face, like, and I'm thinking to myself, "That's freaking Paul McCartney."
What anyone in particular that maybe rubbed you the wrong way, or that wasn't the most fun, or was difficult to photograph?
I probably had one or two. Probably shouldn't say his name. But I wasn't really an admirer of his music, and he kind of just had a really attitude, like thinking he was maybe better than he was.
Did that person make the book?
Yeah, they did. They did.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
but it's a great shot. So and actually, I think. I don't know. You never know. Back then, I think that he was going through some issues. Maybe now he's a good guy. So
Sure,
but,
maybe just having a bad
yeah.
day.
And I know actually, it turned out he really loved the photos that I took for him too. So,
okay.
so
I know-
So that was good to hear.
Now I know who it is because you know the story that's in the book.
Right.
So-
Okay. Yeah. There you go.
You'll be able to if you read
Yeah.
that story in the book, you'll be able to put
Right.
two and two together
Yeah.
about who it is. What about just difficulty of shooting people in action? I mean, right now you're doing headshots, so
Right.
you get, who
Oh,
knows, hundreds or thousands you're taking at a time to find the right, to find the right shot. They're sitting still for you. They're looking at you. They're listening to instructions. When you're shooting a band on stage performing, you
Whole
don't
different story.
have that luxury.
Right.
So was that part of your kind of training with your mentor? And how did you handle that? How did you make sure you get the good shot?
Kind of doing it is really how you. But yeah, it's a whole different situation when you're shooting live shows. Now, remember, this is not digital. This is back with film, so you're shooting color slides in black and white. So you don't see. You have to meter the camera and hope that it's going to be the right metering and the lighting is correct, because it's not like digital. You look at the camera,
Right.
and you
You
say,
don't,
"Oh yeah, looks
you
good."
don't have a screen on
Right.
the back of your
No.
camera.
And so you wait for 3 days when you get your film back, and hope everything you did the right thing. But every concert is different. Sometimes they won't allow flash. That was their rule, no flash. So you would have to get
wow.
if the lighting was really low, and you really
Wait
had to know
for
what you're
a-
doing.
Yeah.
And yeah, sometimes I get a difficult situation too. Like I think I tell the story in Rock and Soul is I was shooting Miles Davis, the jazz great Miles Davis,
Okay, cool.
and he was at Beacon Theater in New York, and basically the first hour he had his back to the audience. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. It's like, please turn around. It's like,
You got to be ready for when he does.
Yes. And he finally, after an hour, it's like, he'd finally turn around, and I think I got some great shots of the book. So, yeah, so you're tricky whether, and if they're moving too, sometimes, they are moving, obviously can't be blurry. You have to make sure you nail that shot. Or another example, Michael Jackson, you have 2 songs to shoot to get the shot.
They only allow you to
They allow
photograph.
you to shoot 2 songs, then they usher you out of the photo pit. Then you're done. So,
Do you at least get to hear the rest of the concert?
in some cases, I think in his case, probably I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so. But
Well, and you can just tell the skill that you have and the talent, because some of them almost seem like they are moving. You can see that they're in motion.
yeah,
But
thank you.
obviously without any sort of blurriness. I mean,
Right.
it seems like live action.
No, thank you.
They really, seem to tell a story. You can see the emotion, the clarity in their face. And was that harder to get back then with real film rather than now with digital?
I don't know if it was. I wouldn't say it was harder. It was just it was you're not sure if you're getting in the shot.
Sure.
Yeah, I think it would be the same situation now. The lighting would be tricky, and if they're moving, you got to get a sharp shot. So.
And so how many photographs? I mean, now we have, the cameras we have here. I don't know. There's probably tens of thousands of photos that you could probably take in one sitting and not run out of space. How many at a concert that you went to photograph? How many different shots would you get? And then how many would be the right ones? Would be usable?
Yeah, it's like again, it depends if you have a 2-song,
Sure.
limit maybe, but you have to shoot fast, and don't forget so it's film, so 36 images in a roll of film, you run out while you're shooting, so you got to
So 30. It was 36. I'm trying to remember.
36.
I'm old enough that we had film, so it was 36 on a roll.
So you had to literally just kind of stop it and just like take it out, rewind it, put it in your pocket or the bag, put another one in, and it was like it was challenging.
Yeah.
But sometimes if you got to shoot the whole concert, you could shoot like 6, 7 rolls, and you have a lot. And sometimes get a lot of great shots. Sometimes you're just lucky if you got like 2 or 3 really great shots. But as long as you get that 2 or 3,
Yeah.
as long as you nail that.
5 or 6 rolls, that's what, a couple hundred photos.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that, most 16-year-old girls at a Taylor Swift concert probably take more pictures on their iPhones now,
exactly.
now than that.
Exactly.
And then there's editing and there's live shots. And
Right.
so much. Do you think that is there any sort of feeling of, hey, it's not the same art now that it used to be with the technology? Like, is there anything more wholesome to you about back when you used to shoot film rather than digitally?
Yeah, I think I do kind of miss the black and white film, because you can shoot color, obviously the digital, and you can convert it, and sometimes it looks really great. I don't know. To me, like the old black and white film is like nothing tops that.
Yeah.
The graininess and the feel of that too. I used to love black and white film. I think it was Tri-X film we would call it. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's just something to be said for that old classic feel.
Yeah.
And what struck me, I think I told you this the first time I received a copy of the book, was the juxtaposition between black and white and color.
Mm-hmm.
And there's, I'm trying to find a good example in here, because you'll have black and white on
Right.
one page,
Mm-hmm.
and then you'll just have a pop of color. Sometimes facing each other.
Right.
Again.
Yeah.
So, was that intentional when you were designing the book?
No, I don't think so. We really were just picking the best shots we can find, and some of them happen to be black and white, which I love the feel of black and white. But some of the color just really pops too. So
I mean, to me, here's a great example. Chuck Berry.
That's one of my favorite. Chuck Berry.
A full spread, right? On one side,
right.
You just see the color popping on a shirt. The other one, black and white.
Yeah, with Ron Wood, the Stones.
Yeah. Just different, both classics. But in a
just different, right? Exactly. They're both different.
In a different
Love
way,
them both.
So obviously, with the book, you do have limited numbers of photographs that you can include. Tell us about that process. What was that like as you were, working with our team and designing the book and deciding what was going to go in, what was going to go out? It's some of your babies,
right? Exactly.
Well, had to be left out.
So basically, I had boxes of color slides, black and white negatives. So the first step was I had to get a lot of them scanned. I mean, it was thousands scanned that we had to. Then I had to buy the old. I used to have a light box, and I realized I don't have a light box anymore. So I had to order a light box with a loop, which I hadn't done in 15, 20 years. So I had to go through and just pick out these photos. And it was hard to leave some out of the book. But there were some great shots that I found that I was like, you know what, I remember this shot. This is a good shot. Even artists I found, oh wow, I forgot that I even photographed this person.
Yeah, was it a blast from the past going through?
Yeah, it was. It was a lot of great memories. Yeah, and just and thinking, well, thank God I'm really doing this, and just finally getting this done because I've thought about it for years.
Yeah. Obviously the artists and the bands are the subject, but I feel like a lot of the venues are characters in the shots, and there were some famous places, some older places that you talk about. What were some of those venues that you used to shoot in? Are they just kind of classic rock and roll, New York rock and roll haunts?
Yeah, well, the main one is Madison Square Garden. That's like the greatest venue of all time, where everybody's played. So that was always a thrill shooting there. Like I said, I grew up concerts there. My first concert was the Madison Square Garden. 1974, George Harrison. So that's a good first concert. So anyway, so I've had great experiences. But then you go to smaller venues, great places to shoot, like Bottom Line, which is not there, Beacon Theater, CBGB's, which is in Rock and Soul. We have great portraits of B-52s, and I got to shoot a nice portrait of them in the stairwell. And it actually looks nice because anybody who knows CBGB's, it was a real blank hole. It was it was a real grimy, horrible place to go see a show. It was just filthy and the worst people. But you know what? It's actually, I kind of made them look, well, I mean, they're not them, but I mean, they look great. They look great, and I made them look glamorous and made CBGBs look good, I think.
Yeah, there is something glamorous about that, right?
Yeah.
It's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Just curious, you have any idea what that place is now? It's probably like a Starbucks or something.
No, actually, no, it's actually, I think it's a John Varvatos clothing store.
Okay.
Yeah, and he actually has portraits, I think, from CBGBs. Which, speaking of that, they should have my B-52s in the store.
Yeah.
Now that I think of it. But yeah, so now it's a clothing store. It's all upscale restaurants. That was the Bowery in New York. It used to be real slums, and it's real upscale now. Great restaurants and high-end stores. So yeah, not the same.
And so in talking about neighborhoods, obviously we said that the venues are part of the book. But is New York is New York part of the book too? Is it
I think I would say the majority. Now that I think of it, I guess almost all. Maybe a few in New Jersey at the big. I think it was called the Brendan Byrne Arena or Giant Stadium. But most of that's New York City. So yeah, that's a good point. A lot of that is just New York history, music history.
Yeah. And so for people who get this book and hold it and are going through it, what emotion do you want it to evoke? What do you want them to feel and think as they look through these classic
Well, I think
photographs?
the title says it. Maybe rock and soul. I want them to feel the soul and the feeling of the photos that I captured, which is kind of always my goal. Even my portraits to this day. And my music photos, I just like capturing the soul and the feeling of people. So, and of this, I want them to really feel the music too.
Yeah. I think it does a really good job of that. Like I said, it tells a story. You can kind of feel it. It takes you back to an older time. It's really neat because most of these people, I mean, so many of them are still alive today. Right. Some of them, still performing. You have Jimmy Page, and they're not performing together, but seeing them back then, seeing them as a younger artist,
right?
It really does take you back.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. That's why it needed to be made into a book. Is like again, I avoided it for years. My wife Shelley said, this has to be a book. I've had other people say, when are you going to do a book? That's like crazy. You're not doing a book.
Yeah.
Because these photos have to be out there to be seen. So hopefully everybody will agree.
Yeah, no, I think so. And so today, do you miss shooting concerts?
Sometimes I kind of think about it, and I think, if there was an artist, I do. I'm trying to think of the last one I actually did. I think it was probably Lee Von Helm of the band. That might have been the last concert that I shot, and that was up at his barn in Woodstock, New York. And he put on a show, and I kind of contacted them because Lee Von Helm of the band, which everybody knows the band, and he's a legend, always one of my favorites. And I knew he did midnight rambles. They called him up there, so they would Saturday and the weekends they would do concerts and have guests. And I contacted his people, I guess, or his manager. I said, I'd love to come up there, do some shots of Lee Von. And they said, yeah, come on up. And
when was that?
That was still a long time ago, maybe 15 years ago, I would say.
Okay.
If I'm just going to throw that out there. So yeah, it kind of brought back great memories of shooting, and even once in a while, or to this day, maybe I'll go see a buddy of mine play in a club or something, or I see a friend and I'll use my iPhone, I'll snap photos. I'll think, oh my God, yeah, that's like, I kind of do miss, because I'm still good at capturing. I still know how to capture that. So even with the iPhone, I'm like, I'll know how to capture it. So, and it brings back memories. And so I'll miss it a little.
Yeah. You don't ever bring your actual,
No.
No. If there was a band today that's still performing that you haven't shot that you'd like to, who do you think it would be and why?
Not a lot, but I think somebody asked me this the other day, and the first person that comes to mind is somebody like Chris Stapleton. I like
Country.
Yeah, but he's like, I would call it almost like soulful country. He's just I love that. That's my style. He's like very gritty voice and like very soulful singing, great guitar player. So that kind of music, and these days any music I would listen to is almost more leaning towards country, because even though I prefer old country, but any artist I would like is maybe just more country. I don't like any of the pop music that's out today, so there's nobody I'd really want to photograph.
Yeah, I don't either. You know what I realized? I guess this is how you know you're getting old. When I was even saying, I think to my daughter, there's no good music coming out anymore, and I realized, wait a minute, I sound like my dad when I was a kid, and then I realized that as you get older, you don't. In most cases, I don't think you add new music to most people don't, at least. I remember my dad was still listening to the Grateful Dead and the Rolling Stones and B.B. King when I was growing up. He's still listening to it now.
Right.
And he thought I was crazy for the heavy metal that, the Poison and then the Blink-182s that I started listening to that I still listen to today. And I don't really add any, so I don't know. Maybe there are great new bands that I just don't know about. But
I don't think so.
No. music
I always
dead.
say, because people always say that, you sound like my father, or my parents or whatever. It's like, but you know what? In this case, we're right. There is no good music today. I mean, my opinion, I don't think, who's like, you think about it. I mean, Taylor Swift or Beyonce, I can't name one song by any of these people. And 50 years from now, they're not going to be remembered like a Sinatra or a Beatles or, Stones or whatever. That's just that I don't think that music is going to be remembered or, be legend or classic the way that music was. And it's not even about, even my era. I go back, I'm like a music fan. Of course, I grew up in the 60s, 70s, so I love the rock and roll and blues and that I grew up in. But, I listen to Sinatra and Billie Holiday and even Fred Astaire, Bing Crosby. Anything, if it's good music, it's good music. So I'm like, I'm not like stuck in my time. It's like, I just don't think there's a lot of good music. And but yeah, so to the answer would be Chris Stapleton. That's the first name that comes to mind. I think there's another guy too that's kind of similar, and I always forget his name. I think he's got a long beard. He's kind of got that same style.
Zach Brown?
No, not him. I know him. Yeah,
Brown.
I can't draw a blank. I think that's that same style, but yeah.
I think they all have long beards.
That's probably true.
Yeah.
That's probably true. Yeah.
I wonder if we get no good music because like auto tune now. Like, did they just not have the same skill? I mean,
yeah, that's what it seems like. I mean, these bands I grew up with too. They would go on, like the Beatles or Stones. They would play like 8-hour days of music and learn to play their instruments.
Right.
They don't do that today.
Now it's all electronically produced. I don't think there's a Phil Lesh, the way he played the bass on the Grateful Dead. I don't think there's a musician.
No, these were real musicians that we grew up with, or I grew up with for sure.
Yeah, It's very interesting. I wonder why that is. I wonder why that.
Yeah, I know the time. This the sign of the times, I guess. It's just
Yeah. So makes sense that you then kind of segged into doing headshots. When did you start doing that? Tell us about.
I guess what year was that? Probably I was doing the music stuff, and I really wanted to do like I thought I was going to be a fashion photographer. I was like thinking that's a cool job to be around models all day long. It's like but it's like but. I right away realized, okay, I don't like the fashion world. That's not going to be for me. I just don't like the whole scene.
Did
or
you
whatever.
do that for a while?
I did like beauty shots. I photographed models, and it was fine.
Like runways or
no, like studio or the
like
beach
Revlon
or whatever.
Commercial. Or...
Yeah, nobody that big, but yeah, just like models' portfolios or for agencies.
Okay.
But that's where I kind of learned that I could do beauty shots and capture people's personality. So then I started focusing on more like the headshots and the portraits, and I like being around talented people, so I like shooting actors or even portraits of musicians. Then that segued into what I do now is a lot of news people and political people. Everybody, attorneys, doctors. So I just like capturing people now. So
is that what it is? Capturing people? That's
I think that's kind of the same thing with with the music. I kind of capture people's personality and their souls. I guess.
Yeah,
that's always my favorite compliment.
How do you do that, or how do you attempt to do that?
Can't put it in words. I just do it.
You just see it.
Yeah, I think when I shoot, it's a fun atmosphere. We have fun in the studio. I have makeup artists that are great. They have great personalities. We're talking to the client. We're hanging out. We have music playing. I got my famous jukebox. It's like an old jukebox with my iPad, so it's my playlist. Oh. So we got a whole mood going. So I think that adds to making people feel comfortable and relaxed, and we're hanging out and having a good time. And I think that's chosen the photos.
So what is playing in Barry Morgenstein's jukebox?
Oh, well, again, that's a wide, everything you see in rock and soul, but it's mainly I grew up rock and roll, classic rock and roll. Beatles, Stones, The Who, Zeppelin, Allman Brothers, Skinner, Dylan, but then blues, B.B. King, 70s soul, Sly and the Family Stone, Stevie Wonder, Marvin Gaye, Frank Sinatra, going back again, Billie Holiday, just again, good music. That's all. It's good music.
Being a Jersey guy, are you a Bruce fan? Or
no, believe it or not, it never was.
Never was Bruce.
No, it was never big. I didn't dislike him. I realized his talent, and there's certainly songs I like the album "The River." I love. That is a good album. So, but it was just never. I was never. Being a Jersey guy, I was not like over the top. I was more.
Billy Joel.
I liked him too, but he wasn't. Again, he wasn't somebody I'd go out of my way to listen to. But great songs. I can certainly. The one he wrote. Actually, I think his best song, my favorite song, was the one he wrote, the Vietnam song. That's such a moving song, and I'm drawing a blank of it. Good Night, Saigon.
Oh.
That's my all-time favorite, Billy. I just love that song. It's about Vietnam veterans. And as you know,
I don't know why.
As a military and veteran supporter, that song gets to me. So, again, I admire his talent. He's just not somebody I would run to the, my stereo and put him on purposely. Like if it comes on the radio, I'll listen to it.
My wife's from Long Island, so I became a fan of his. And but as a writer, that to me is his strongest feature. Just the way that he captures brilliant. He captures Americana so simply, that it's just to me.
And we just watched the recent documentary on him. I forget what it was on, and that was a great documentary. And makes you appreciate him even more.
Yeah.
Because there's no question that him and Bruce are extremely talented.
Yeah.
So.
Because you're a big fan of Elton John, you said too.
Yeah, for sure.
And Elton John and what's his name are kind of the
Billy Joel.
And
they did that tour together.
They're known together.
Yeah, exactly.
And the piano men.
Right, exactly. Completely different styles, but
in that documentary, Billy Joel said, he does not like that comparison at all. They're so different.
Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly.
But it was funny watching them sitting like facing. It reminds you of the piano bars that you go to, and those dueling pianos that they do. So yeah.
So who are some other people that you have photographed that you enjoyed working with, either politically or models or just kind of anybody?
Politically, well, I really enjoyed doing. I do a lot of headshots for news people, and I do most of the headshots for Newsmax. It's a safe place for like patriots, military people, and law enforcement to come. I do a lot of work with Blue Magazine, which is the nation's leading law enforcement magazine. So you know what? To me, those are the rock stars, the real rock stars. When I was younger, I wanted to be around Jimmy Page and Mick Jagger or whoever. But you know what? Today I'd rather hang out with a Navy SEAL or a Marine or whatever, because they're always, well, they're real heroes,
Right.
and they're the nicest people. They're laid back, they're humble for the most part. They're usually just like, the nicest guys, and fun too to be with. Almost as much fun as hanging out with rock stars sometimes.
Yeah.
So it was,
And that's how we got connected. How you initially, decided to publish with Ballast Books is because we've worked with some of the same people. I know.
right,
You photographed Eddie Gallagher.
Absolutely.
Who obviously did his book, The Man in the Arena.
right.
And you're well known in that community for doing those.
Which is that means a lot.
Yeah.
I love that. So yeah.
Yeah.
So these days, that's my favorite, is really just shooting those guys.
How'd you develop such a respect for that those people?
Yeah, that's a good question. When I was younger, I guess, I don't know if we talk politics, but I became more conservative as I got older. Actually, when I was younger, I was a long-haired rock and roll guy,
Yeah.
so I was more liberal and Democrat. Used to argue with my conservative dad and my conservative grandma. I did a complete 180, 9/11. I did change me. I was like,
9/11.
yep, completely turned me around. Now I'm ultra conservative, very patriotic. Although it's funny, when I was back in my rock and roll so-called long-haired liberal days, I would love to watch World War II movies. It's like, and my best friend Paul would always laugh, saying, you make a weird hippie because you're always watching World War II movies.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I just love that. I was fascinated by that era. I would love, to this day, I love history. I love World War II history. I read read books on World War II and that time period, the 40s, fascinated by. So yeah, I just began. Then you just, after 9/11 again, you just admiration of what they do. What military does and what law enforcement, first responders, can't help but admire them. So
Yeah.
that's,
So I imagine then your conservative father, he would have been about the World War II generation, right?
he was in Korea, not
was
the
in-
Korean War, but he was in Korea when he was in the army.
So
But he was
in the military.
Yeah, he was in the military.
Okay.
But he would sit around on weekends and he'd watch Victory at Sea, World at War. These are old documentaries from the 70s.
Documentaries.
Great documentaries on World War II. And I was always like in the back of my head. And we every year we'd watch the Memorial Day concert on the White House lawn, on the Capitol lawn, I should say, since the 90s. And we would sit there and watch that together. And we kind of bond over that too. And and of course he was happy when I kind of became probably more conservative than him. I wish my grandma had lived. She was a very conservative woman, and she never got to see my turnaround. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when you were a liberal, it meant something different than what it
yeah,
means
exactly.
today.
Right. No, for sure. Yeah, I wasn't a Marxist, a radical.
Right.
Hate America. I was just
Yeah.
a little naive. That was probably the best way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah. I know we said, I don't know if you want to talk politics, and we don't
I
have
don't care.
to.
No, I don't mind.
But you did, as you've been promoting rock and soul, you've received a lot of great feedback and some appearances. But then there's been some places almost canceled you when they find out your politics, especially in New Jersey. They said, one in particular said, "Oh, I know that we have you booked for, was it the same day or tomorrow to be on the podcast?"
It was about 2 hours before I was heading out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in case you forgot the name, it's called Best of New Jersey.
Okay. The worst of. I'm sorry. The best.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, it's a website that they just literally 2 hours before I was gonna head in, I get an email from the editor, the guy in charge. He said, well, after my staff did a deep dive on you, and specifically on your X account, and we think we don't want to be controversial, and basically what they were, they just didn't like me because I was a conservative.
Yeah.
Because the things I say on X is like, okay, I don't like Hamas supporters. I don't like people who celebrate Charlie Kirk's assassination we were talking about earlier. So yeah, I'm a little hard on them, but that's too bad. That's not being controversial. I think that's being
Right.
kind of normal.
Yeah.
And I don't like people who if somebody attacks ICE, saying ICE and when he wishes harm on ICE or police officers, yeah, I'm gonna say something.
Yeah.
That's the way I am. It's just like, and if that offends you, then I don't want to be on your podcast.
Yeah, I mean it's your right, your freedom of speech.
Well, that's true. Yeah,
they don't have to agree.
Right, exactly. And who told you to go deep diving? Well, I wasn't going to come on and talk politics on his, on his podcast. I was coming to talk about my book, talk about music, which my response to him was, music is universal. Everybody loves it. I wasn't going to talk politics. You're the one judging me. I'm not judging you guys. So
right. Yeah.
But that's the way that usually works.
The book is supposed to bring people together, if
Right.
anything, right?
Yeah,
There's
has nothing to do with politics. I have my personal opinions, which I don't mention in the book.
Right. Yeah.
It's music.
No, they have nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with the shots that you took.
Right.
in
Exactly. All right.
in the 80s.
Right.
So good. What else? Tell us a little more about the process. We didn't get too much into that. The process of actually, designing the book of, being a photography book, right? It's not. There's no right or wrong way to go about it. There is not this is the only way that you can do it. You have a layout. It's a 6x9. You have a layout with these margins and these gutters, and you're gonna have 310 words on a page. There's a lot of choices, a lot of different ways to go about it, and that in itself is an art in itself. So tell us about your design process, how you worked with your designer at Ballast, and how you made some of the decisions for the look and the feel of the book.
Yeah, well, this was all new to me, so that's why probably I hesitated for years. 'Cause I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how this worked, but not just because I'm sitting here with you, but you guys really nailed it, and everybody on your staff
Thank you.
really walked me through everything: with the design, the storytelling. I should mention everybody's name. You should probably mention
Fabiana,
yeah,
Kaylee,
Fabiana was
Laura,
amazing with the story. We would talk on Zoom, and she would just listen to my stories, and I'm thinking some of these stories, how's it going to look written? When I tell it, I think it's good, but I don't know. But she nailed it, so it's perfect. The design, exactly the way I described it. I sent in images to your design person. I'm sorry, forgetting his name, but he, whoever. I said, well, I want it to look a little more like this effect too. So he nailed how I wanted the photos to look, very sharp and clear, and just everybody, you guys were just amazing. When I described the cover, I wanted a specific, I wanted it to look very rich, classy. I said, well, I want to stick to my silver and black colors. Yep. This is my company colors, and it's very sharp to me. It's like my envision. I think I said, I want it to look like the Rolls Royce of music books.
Yeah.
So and you guys nailed it. It's just I just loved it. I couldn't be happy with the cover. So everything about Ballast, you guys got me through this. So
well, great. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I am fortunate to have a very good team, but you had a vision, and some authors work with have a vision, some don't. The ones
Right.
that do, it doesn't mean that they can always articulate it. Like, our job is to pull it out of them. I think you were really good at articulating. You definitely saw, and there were plenty of times you said, no, hey, great idea, great suggestion, but I don't think we want to go that way.
Right.
And that's the collaboration. That's the back and forth.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
But is it because it's something that you've thought about for so long that you did have this, if not a specific, the specifics of it, you had an overall vision?
Mm-hmm.
Did you know that you always had that in your head, or did it take going through the design?
I think it was going through it. Yeah. Because, before that, I was kind of lost. Like, I want to do a book, but I don't know how to do this, what it's going to look like. But really, as we were working together, as I was seeing the images, and I have to say my wife Shelley was such a big help, because she was helping me pick out the photos, because I had again thousands of photos. I'm like, well, should I use this one? And maybe I'm thinking, well, maybe not this one. And she'd be like, yeah, no, use that. That's a great shot. Maybe if it was an artist I wasn't crazy about, but I was like, she would say, but people like this, and it's a great shot. So that convinced me to put it in the book. It was more, but I think as we were picking the photos and we were thinking about it, about the design too. Shelley helped me with the design of the cover too. Which photos to use. And then the title came to me, like I was probably laying in bed in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
We literally took a poll, which you probably remember, on social media. I was like, okay, what's a title? And I got hundreds of suggestions. And some of them were good, but it wasn't quite right. It wasn't me. It had to be my personality. And I just kind of came up with that. I always loved that phrase. It was actually the first time I heard rock and soul was at the Woodstock concert from 1969. There was an artist, Country Joe McDonald. He said, and he introduced a song. He says, what we're gonna do for you, something we call a little rock and soul. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool, because that's like a good, and I love that combination. I love rock and roll. I love soul music, and the images are kind of a combination of that. Because I was thinking, well, if I just call it rock and roll portrait, that's just so used all the time. So this is a little different.
Yeah, when I first saw that, it was not even an aha moment. It was oh yeah, it was a duh moment. Yep, duh. That's exactly
exactly. And that's how it came to me too. It's like
no brainer.
Yeah,
because it is. It's not rock and soul. It's that's talking about the music, rock and soul music,
right?
But it's also rock and the soul of
the images
of the images,
right? Exactly,
and the soul of the book. So
exactly.
I think that I think that worked really, really well. Was there we just hear from authors sometimes at the end of the process. Hey, but it was like, it's like giving birth, and at the end you're just exhausted. You're like, okay, I can't go through that for a while. Was it exhausting or more of an exciting?
No, I
process?
think it was exciting. It was kind of it was exciting.
Yeah,
and a lot of anticipation. It's like, okay, I want to see what this is going to look like. Let's get it going. And we were counting, my wife and I counting the days. Like, or months. Like, okay, it's going to be released now. It's like, just. But when we first saw the design, when you guys, I think it was Kaylee that sent the first design, I believe. And we first saw it online. It looked amazing. It was like, oh my God! So I can't wait to see how it looks in person. So which we did today.
Yeah,
and we're ecstatic
for the first time today.
Yeah, I know.
So with before we end, I just want to show a few pictures, and maybe you can just kind of comment on whatever you think, the artist, the story, if you remember. Let me ask this: how many do you remember when you were going through those? Going, oh, I remember that day.
I think most of them. Yeah. There were a few surprises that I was surprised. I think there was like Lemmy of Motorhead. I have no recollection of shooting that.
Okay,
I have no idea where that was. I don't remember that. I don't remember, what it was for. But anyway, yeah. So, but most of them I do remember.
So here's a good one right here that we already looked at. So this this is Chuck Berry and Ronnie Wood, Rolling Stones. So the Ritz, New York City, 1985. Is there a story behind that one?
That's just I think that was a separate show from the Chuck Berry on the left. I think that was, even though it looks like he's wearing the same
shirt.
Yeah, but I don't think that was the same show. I guess he liked that shirt. But it was just, I think that was a surprise. I was shooting Chuck Berry at another show, another date, and then next thing I know, Ron Wood of the Rolling Stones was on stage with him. So
they were playing with the Rolling Stones.
No, he was just a guest. It was just Ron Wood. So, but it was like I was in heaven because I love the Stones. I love Chuck Berry.
So this is really cool. So this is Dave Mustaine on Megadeth on one side,
right,
and then David Bowie on the other side.
Right.
Very different musicians,
right?
Same color schemes. Tell us about the design process here. With how's the color decision?
Well, so this is an example of when I was not using flash, whether I was not allowed to, or sometimes I chose not to because I would get that great effect. You get that's the lighting on the stage, especially like Megadeth on the left, Dave Mustaine. That's I have to say I love that shot, and that's just no flash, and I'm capturing the lighting of the stage, and he's obviously moving. So it's really, when you're shooting that no flash, you have to shoot very fast film, they called it there, because it's low lighting. So to capture it is really hard. And and Bowie, that was actually in New Jersey. That was a giant stadium. That was an outdoor concert. Wow. And just with that red suit and just
just like the way you captured the look, the emotion in his face as he's screaming that lyric.
Yep, that was like a classic photo. I wish I remember what song he was singing there. But
that would be neat. Let's see here's one of my favorites. Eddie.
Oh, Eddie Van Halen. Yeah, actually, yeah, absolutely. That was at Madison Square Garden too. Yeah, I think some of the photos I have of some of these legends, I think you see a lot of the photos of these people, but I think some of mine kind of look a little different from the classic images that you're used to seeing.
Yeah.
These people, like, I don't know, that's just a different pose of Eddie. It's more subdued maybe than you might see him leaping off the stage or whatever. So I kind of like that. I did that with a few of the artists there are kind of similar.
Yeah, now that you mentioned that, I do notice that.
Yeah.
That they're kind of capturing a different side of some of these artists, I think.
Like actually the cover photo, we can go back to the Michael Jackson shot. To me, that's not a typical Michael. To me, that's like a rock and roll Michael Jackson. He's just, I don't know, this just looks different than a lot of the shots I've seen of him. So that's one of my favorites too.
Yeah. No, that is great. Let's see. Maybe we'll pick one or two more out. Oh, there's another one. Oh. Sammy Hagar days with Eddie.
Unfortunately, I never got to photograph David Lee Roth. It would have been cool. I saw them live, but I never I wasn't a photographer yet. But I do like that shot. That's a great shot of the two of them.
So I saw Sammy Hagar. Actually, I saw Sammy Hagar live the night that Trump got shot.
Oh,
we actually pulled into the parking lot.
Wow.
And the guy I went to the concert with, he's a great guitar player. He just got this Eddie Van Halen replica guitar.
Oh, those are great. Yeah.
He had he was driving on his truck. He has a "We'll be back, I'll be back" sticker, like a Trump "I'll be back" sticker on his truck.
Right.
We get out of the truck, and the guy next to us says, "Hey, did you hear?
Oh, wow.
President Trump just got shot in the head." We're like, "Get out of here!"
Yeah, wow.
And
imagine?
All of a sudden, the news started rippling through the show. But anyway, he was David Lee. Sammy Hagar was absolutely amazing. I think he might be pushing 80, And
Probably.
it was just an amazing electric show.
Yeah.
So much energy. It was so good.
Mhm.
I saw a video the other day of David Lee Roth.
I saw that video.
Oh my! In the like the leather chaps.
Yeah,
he
it
looked
was-
like an old
No,
lady.
It was not a good sight. Not a good sight. No, it was
hang
not
it,
good.
hang it
Yeah.
up, David.
Yeah,
no
right,
more
yeah.
performance for you.
Yeah, yeah.
So-
I saw the whole clip of New York radio host Anthony Cumio. He was ripping that apart. It was pretty funny. I mean, it was kind of sad too because he used to be, he was a great looking guy. He was like, he was a great performer with Van Halen. But so it's sad to see them get old like that. But some of them age a little more graceful.
Yeah. I'd say Sammy Hagar won the battle of
Yeah.
the Van Halen lead
Right,
singers
exactly,
at
right.
least now. Lou Reed. Yeah. So here's I assume he's a New Jersey native. Maybe I just think that because of Sopranos and
Yeah, little Stephen,
Stephen
yeah.
Van Zandt.
Yeah,
obviously,
Stephen Van
with-
Zandt. Then that was shot in New Jersey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So was that just him or was that with Bruce?
No, that was just him. He
That
was
was
a
just him.
solo actor for that one.
Well, the book is filled with these great photos and great stories.
Yeah. Thank
Peter, Paul, and Mary. Yeah,
yeah,
just
it's like there's a wide variety there. I folk too, obviously. So,
look
but
at,
legends.
look at the emotion here in Randy Bach.
I know. Yeah, yeah. From Buckman Turner Overdrive. So he's another legend. And I wish I forgot where I photographed. It's probably New York somewhere. But
Yeah, it says New York City.
yeah.
All right.
But yeah, if you like music, I mean, Rock and Soul is going to be a great book. Great Christmas gift, Hanukkah gift. All styles of music.
And signed first edition copies are
Yes,
available
absolutely.
At ballastbooks.com.
Right.
You can also obviously get it anywhere the books are sold.
Right.
Anything else you want to tell people about the book, the process, or where they can get your T-shirts, your photos,
Yeah,
or
all
book
on-
you for headshots?
Yeah, all on BarryMorgenstein.com, my website.
Yep.
Which is being redesigned now. So, but it's still up. But everything's on my site. I'm on social media everywhere. Facebook, Instagram. Always posting photos, telling stories.
Yeah.
So I'm easy to find.
Good. Well, it's a great book. Barry, thank you so much.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
having
Thank you guys for everything.
Yeah.